Hey everybody, I realized that in the last video I kind of left you guys hanging, but I wanted to kind of clarify a few things before this video started, just kind of preface it a little bit. Those of you who follow me on Instagram or Facebook already know this, but the footage in that video was actually shot a week prior, and the whole deal with that is I had no intention of ever releasing that footage. But the day after that happened, I actually injured my back and I was out of work for a while. And a lot of you guys were, saying, hey man, where's the video? So I decided to go ahead against my better judgment and edit that, upload it. That's why it kind of left on a cliffhanger there. But I do want to say, after doing it and seeing all the positive comments and all you guys that reached out to me over the last week since I released that video, I'm kind of glad I did. So in this video, what we're going to do, I'm going to go through probably some of your comments. I'm going to address some of the comments, some of the suggestions that were made about this engine. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I'm going to do with this engine, as well as what's in this box I've been teasing you about. So stick around. right, so as you guys can see, we've got the short block all put back together now. I'm going to kind of go over a few things here because there seemed to be a lot of misconceptions in the last video. A lot of you guys were reaching out trying to help me, and that's fantastic. But then there were a few people who didn't quite understand what was going on with this. So I'm going to address that right now. We're going to talk about the whole Gen 3, Gen 4 thing. And yeah, we'll go from there. So before I get into the whole, you know, did the junkyard screw me on purpose thing, I'm going to go ahead and say up front, no, I don't think they did. And I'm going to explain why as I'm explaining this whole Gen 3, Gen 4 thing. Some of you guys are a little confused on it, and I'll be honest, when it comes to the 5.3, the thing that led me to get this engine was a misconception online that some of you have actually repeated in the comments of the last video. And it's not so much of a misconception as it is something that, well, I'm just going to talk about it right now. So here's the deal, guys. When you're dealing with, we're just going to say a Gen 3 block, which is a 1999 all the way through 2007, early 2007 block, okay? There are two types of rods that could have came in that block. There are the Gen 3 rods, which are the weaker, the thinner rods, what I ended up with in this block, and there are the Gen 4 rods. Now, just because I say an engine has Gen 4 rods, that does not mean it is a Gen 4 engine. They started using the Gen 4 rods in the Gen 4 blocks well before 2007. Okay, guys, so that was one of the things I saw in the comments is people were like, that's obviously not a Gen 4. It doesn't have the cam sensor in the front. Well, I know that. I wasn't saying it was a Gen 4 engine. What I meant is Gen 4 rods. So here's the deal with that, guys. As much as I know, I'm used to dealing with the 6 liters, okay? This is actually the first 5.3 I've torn down. Now, when you're talking about the 6 liters in 2003, they started using the Gen 4 rods in the LQ4s, the LQ9s, etc. Now, when it comes to the 5.3, they didn't start using the Gen 4 rods until late 2004. So generally, if you shoot for a 2005 or 2006, you're guaranteed to have Gen 4 rods. Now, there are several different ways that you can identify externally, so I was told, so I'm about to disprove, that an engine has Gen 4 rods without tearing it apart. So, the biggest thing, and actually a couple of you posted this in the comments as well, is that I should have checked the exhaust manifold bolts. Because the common misconception is if you have 13mm exhaust manifold bolts, that you're automatically going to have Gen 4 rods in that engine. Well, guess what? I had 13mm exhaust manifold bolts, and I'm about to tell you why here in a few minutes, and why you shouldn't just go by that. All of this is intermixed, guys, so you know, I can't really explain one thing without explaining the other, but here's what I believe happened with this engine. Okay, I wholeheartedly believe that this junkyard pulled this engine out of a 2006 Tahoe. They had all the parts for it tagged, the alternator, the starter, the engine block. Everything was tagged as coming out of a 2006 Chevy Tahoe. I already ran the VIN numbers and it came back, sure enough, as a 2006 Chevy Tahoe. What I believe happened is at some point in the past, the previous owner of this Tahoe had blown up the engine in it and they had replaced it with a junkyard engine. This is that junkyard engine, and the engine they replaced it with was probably a 03 or 04 junkyard engine. Now, why do I think that? The exhaust manifold bolts. When I went to look at this engine, I took a 13mm wrench with me just because everyone on the internet, you know, has always said if it's got 13mm exhaust manifold bolts and 13mm valley cover bolts, it's going to have Gen 4 rods. So, you know, I took that to heart, and what I didn't think about is the fact that it could have been swapped at some point. So I went in, this engine still had the intake on it, so I never looked at the valley cover bolts. But I took my 13mm wrench, I tried it on a couple of the exhaust manifold bolts, and sure enough, they were all 13mm, at least the ones that weren't broken off. So I thought I'm good to go. You know, I've got the tag says 2006. I've got 13mm exhaust manifold bolts. You know, the thing's drive-by-wire, which could have been anything from 03 up, but still, you get where I'm going with this. I thought I was good. Well, when I came home, as I took the intake off and I went to put my lift plate on it to pull it out of the truck, I noticed the bolts on the valley cover were not 13mm. This is why you don't go by the bolts, guys. Here is, after laying in bed with my back out for the last week and thinking about all this, I've pretty much put together what's happened. So, as I said earlier, at some point in the past, the previous owner of this Tahoe has actually swapped this engine in. They probably blew up their old engine. They swapped it in. And what they did is, when they put this new engine in, when they went to bolt everything back together, they used the old exhaust bolts from their original engine. That's why this one had 13mm exhaust bolts, and that's why you shouldn't go by, you know, the whole 13mm bolt thing if you're trying to find a Gen 3 engine with Gen 4 rods. Because like what just happened to me, you never know when that engine's been swapped out, if someone swapped parts on it. And, you know, basically everything that could have went wrong for me did go wrong for me. Moving on from that, I didn't take the engine back to the junkyard. And the reason I didn't take it back is, I think I kind of said it in the other video, but because this engine had so much external damage to the accessories and everything, I literally got this engine for half the price of what they wanted for any other 5.3 there. I did not have the money to make up the difference. So I would not expect that junkyard to give me a full price, one of their full price engines, in exchange for a half price engine just because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. You know, that being said, this all stems back to, I do not believe I was screwed over on purpose, guys. I really think the junkyard wholeheartedly believed that this was a 2006 model engine, and so I decided to just go with it. But in going with it, I've also decided I'm not going to sink a bunch of money into this thing, guys, because this isn't the engine I wanted. I don't have the money right now to buy cam, rods, you know, or even to go to Gen 4 rods. I don't have the money for all that shit. And to be honest with you, I don't want to throw that much money at this 5.3 when the plan later on is to build a forged bottom end 6.0, possibly even stroke it. So what I've decided to do, as you saw in the beginning of the video, I went ahead and put new bearings in it. And I'm about to show you why. Again, if you follow me on social media, you've already seen this, but these are the rod bearings out of that engine. I mean, they are chewed up. You can tell there's been some foreign matter in there. I mean, they're ate up, guys. Like, here's another one. You can see they're just ate up. Now, if I would have pulled this thing apart and these bearings would have been, you know, in a little bit better shape, I would have just left them in there and run it. But after I saw those bearings, I started getting worried about, you know, what kind of condition the main bearings were in, things like that. So I did pull all the main caps, and astonishingly enough, the main bearings, while they did have some wear on them, and it's obvious there are a lot of miles on this engine, they weren't messed up, guys. I mean, it was good even wear. There was no grooves cut in them. So I just threw some assembly lube in the mains, torqued those back down, and I went out and I bought a cheap set of rod bearings. And first thing I want to do is say thank you to Jeff over at Headflow Inc., the YouTube channel. He actually suggested a set of the King bearings that are really cheap. I really appreciate that. Unfortunately, nobody local to me here had those in stock, so I did end up going with the Speed Pro, which is what I usually use anyway. You know, they were only about 10 more bucks, but we've got those bearings in there now. The bottom end's put back together, but guys, this thing had a lot of miles on it, and by a lot of miles, I mean the rings. There was so much carbon and coking on the rings on the pistons that I had to soak the pistons in kerosene overnight just to get the rings out, because I was afraid I was going to bend or break the rings trying to get them out. It was that caked up. So what I did is I soaked the pistons overnight, I got the rings off. I cleaned the heads and the sides of the pistons up. That's pretty much all I did. And I gapped the rings. This was also funny because when I was gapping the rings, I was going to shoot for a 24 to 26 on the gap. And what I found as I was gapping these is that these rings were so wore out that some of them were already gapped open to like 28 thousandths. So I ended up just pretty much gapping them all to between 26 and 28, top and bottom ring. And we're just going to run it like that, guys. I mean, it's a junk motor. It's just a couple $100. And so what? You know, let's have our fun with it. So yeah, that's the plan, guys. I'm going to clean the heads up a little bit. I'm not going to paint this block or do anything stupid. Like, I'm literally going to clean it just enough to make it tolerable for me to work on, and that's pretty much it. But we're going to throw the heads back on, stock springs, stock cam, you know, stock lifters. I'm going to clean those up. As you saw in the other video, or I don't remember if I put it in there or not, but the push rods, some of them were shot. I've got 2 or 3 sets of used push rods from 6.0s that we've built on the channel here in the past. We're going to go through, find the 16, you know, best, straightest, best shape ones we can, throw that in it, and we're just pretty much going to see what this thing will do with just a shit ton of nitrous going to it. And I mean, I would love to put a cam in it right now, guys, but honestly, I don't have the money for it. I don't have the money for a cam, springs. Sure, I would have the money in a month or two, but I want to get this thing together as soon as possible, okay? I don't want this to be one of those projects that takes a year or something like that, I mean, before it's even moving. So I think it'll be interesting to just take a stock 5.3, you know, bone stock, just only thing different is the gap's been open on the rings. We're going to swap that in with the Turbo 350. We're going to stick it in a 3rd gen Camaro. We're going to see what it runs off the bottle. And, you know, then we're going to see what it runs with a little bit of nitrous, and we're going to see what it runs with a lot of nitrous. I've got 2 kits over here, as you guys know. One of them is actually on the China vet right now, so we probably won't use that one. But I've still got 1 NX kit over here. It'll jet all the way up to a 250 shot, guys. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting to just see that. Let's see what happens when you just put a bone stock, no cam or nothing. Let's just put a bone stock 5.3 in here and hit it with a bunch of nitrous and see what happens. Now, something else I want to talk about, guys, is like I said in the preface to this, I'm so glad that, you know, I went ahead and posted that footage because you guys are awesome. I've got to say, I really feel like, you know, I know this isn't the biggest channel, you know, and I don't get the most amount of work done or whatever. I mean, I work, I have kids, but I really feel like those of you who watch this channel are probably one of the best groups of people on YouTube, because some of you who follow me on social media, you know I've been out with my back. I've actually been out of work for a week now. And, you know, I was in bed for most of that time. I mean, I couldn't hardly walk. I'm just now getting to where I'm, you know, kind of moving around again. That's just now got this engine put back together last night, the bottom end, and that's just because I finally felt like I could get around without following the dang floor. But, you know, a lot of you guys have reached out to me. I really appreciate that. I really do. I want you guys to know that. It means a lot to me that, you know, you guys reached out to me, asking me how I'm doing, you know, wishing me to get better and stuff. And also just the outpouring of you guys completely off the health topic, but back on this engine. After you guys saw like all the accessories busted and, you know, that I didn't get what I wanted and you know, the intake, I was going to need different, you know, I can't tell you how many messages I got. I mean, I would like to sit here and name off the names of everybody who reached out to me offering to send me parts and stuff, but honestly, it was overwhelming. It was crazy, guys. And, you know, I appreciate all of it. Those of you that, you know, I kind of, I'm not going to say blew off, but I kind of said, you know, no, man, I'm kind of working on something else right now. I just want you to know I appreciate it. It was not that I didn't appreciate it, but what it was is there was just so many of you at once that were asking, like I think I had 6 different people asked to send me a drive-by cable throttle body, like 6 people in the same day. And so I kind of just, I went with the guys that I've been talking to for a long time, you know, that I communicate with on a regular basis. I kind of went to them for it, as opposed to the people that it was kind of like the first time I was hearing from you. And it was nothing against you. It was just, it was more comfortable, I guess, for me, because I'm not used to people just, I don't know, it was just crazy. I'm just not used to that many people wanting to help me. And especially over something as, you know, like this engine isn't a life or death situation, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm rambling is what I'm doing. But I'm just saying it was so overwhelming that many of you guys wanted to help me. That's the bottom line. And I really appreciate it. I really do. And there are actually some parts coming. I'm going to give some shout outs to some of you guys in a future video upon receiving those parts. And we've got something major right here, guys, that I've actually been sitting on this for a few days because I wanted to show it to you guys, but it came while I've been laid up in bed. So you guys know one of the dilemmas that I was facing with this project was engine management. You know, I was originally, my plan was to just go ahead, I was going to rework another harness like I always do, use the stock PCM for now. Later on, I was going to upgrade to the Terminator X from Holley when I had the, honestly, when I had the money. That could have been a year from now. It could have been even longer. $1,000 is a lot of money around here. So, you know, that was the plan. I was just going to do it in stages, work my way up. The thing that sucks about using the stock PCM is that I would have had to buy a progressive controller for the nitrous, a bump box, a 2-step, yada, yada, yada. So, guys, I've got to give a huge shout out to Josh Watson over at Shitbox Nation. He actually hit me up a few weeks ago, and we were kind of talking back and forth. We've been talking for a long time before this, but I'm just going to show you what he sent me. Yeah, there it is, guys. A freaking Holley HP, the whole system. Like, this is not the Terminator X. This is kind of the in between the Terminator and the Dominator systems, guys. I mean, this this thing does everything I will need it to do. It'll do boost control, progressive nitrous, 2-step, bump box, everything, guys. E85. He even threw in a 3-bar map sensor, so I wouldn't have to worry about that, and the upgraded O2 sensor. I was stoked, blown away, guys. I've never, ever had anyone send me anything like this before. Not knocking anything that anyone's ever sent me, but this one really blew me away, guys. So we've got our whole harness here, everything we need to go ahead and swap this thing in and get it running. So a big, huge shout out to Josh Watson for that. If you guys have never been over to the Shitbox Nation Facebook group, it's a trip, guys. It's growing really fast. I think the last time I checked, they had like a quarter million members over there. I mean, like, he started this thing, and him and another guy, and it just, Scotty Ham. I don't want to leave him out, but you know, I think they started this thing together, but, you know, I know for sure Josh did, and I mean, this thing just blew up like overnight. I mean, it's crazy, but, you know, you might want to go over there, check it out, guys, buy some merch from them. Actually, you've seen me put Shitbox Nation decals. There's actually one on the China Vet right now, so check out Shitbox Nation. Thanks again, Josh, for this Holley HP. I'm definitely going to put it to good use, brother, and I appreciate the hell out of it. The thing that got me the most about this is, guys, you know, anytime somebody sends me something, even if you don't send me something, if you just help me out online, you know, I try to always shout you out in a video. You know, if I'm having trouble with something and you guys suggest, you know, the solution, I try to shout you out and make sure you get recognition for it. Josh here, like, I pretty much had to beg him for a week solid to let me shout him out. So, like, he wanted no part of that. But I thought it might be a good opportunity to send some of you guys his way over to Shitbox Nation. And, yeah, anyway, guys, I really appreciate it, Josh. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. To be honest, guys, I got this thing a week ago, and I've been dumbfounded ever since it came in the mail. I couldn't believe it. But moving right along, yes, this is a bit of a ramble video. I'm sorry for that, but I just wanted to kind of let you guys know what's coming now. With this, in combination with some parts that you guys have already shipped out to me and will probably be here this week, and a couple newer parts that I'm going to be testing, some budget options actually for LS swaps that I have not seen tested before on YouTube. Stick around for that. We pretty much at this point have everything we need to go ahead and start swapping this car. So in the next few videos, what you're going to see me doing is buttoning up this engine. Yes, I'm going to reuse the old head gaskets because, again, don't want to spend much money on this engine. But you're going to see me button all this up in the next few videos, and hopefully within the next couple weeks, we'll go ahead and get this stuff swapped into the Camaro and look at maybe getting this thing fired up. I'm not going to lie, all of this is dependent on the amount of time I have, you know, the amount of time my job allows and how my health is doing, because at the moment I'm not doing fantastic. I'm not going to lie, but hopefully everything will come together. And the important thing is the money is not a big concern right now because we already have pretty much everything we need. Not for the end game. We don't have any of the turbo stuff yet, guys. But, you know, to get this thing swapped on the bottle and play it around, we've pretty much got everything we need either here in the garage or on its way in boxes right now. So I realize this wasn't very much of an action video. It was more of a ramble, but I wanted to kind of make this video, you know, honestly, I can't give you a whole lot of action at the moment. So I wanted to make this video, kind of let you guys know what was going on. I wanted to address, you know, some of the comments in the past video there. I wanted to say thank you to everybody for the comments in the last video. Maybe clear a few things up, and I just wanted to say thanks, guys. I mean, basically that's what this video is, just telling you how things are going, where things are going, and to say thank you to everybody who has reached out to help me, and even to those who haven't. You guys are just watching the video. Just watching the videos, sharing the videos helps me out tremendously. So hopefully I can get you some more action in the next few videos, start getting some stuff put together, and that's pretty much it, guys. So if you like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, share this video with a friend. Now get out in the garage, get something done, and I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage.